Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Thursday night here for another episode of Above the Cushion. Got a great guest waiting in the wings, but first and foremost, we got to get to a few things as we get ready to go racing here this weekend at Humboldt Speedway and 81 Speedway. Of course, Friday night, going to be back at the world famous Bull Ring over in Humboldt, Kansas, and a big announcement came out on Facebook last night. $1,000 to win for your Jared Gilmore and Phillips Sig Tire and Auto Rick BB Heating and Air Modified A feature over there tomorrow night. So 20 cars were checked in to our last week for the modified feature. And of course, our guest waiting in the wings, Mickey Burrell, picked up the win. We'll talk to him here in just a moment. But we want to get the announcement out there. We know that some tracks have already canceled for the weekend. We know the USMTS is going to be off, so we invite all of the modifieds over to Humboldt for $1,000 to win. And we got to thank some very special sponsors, and we'll do that throughout the show. And of course, tomorrow night over at the track, we got a lot of people to thank for helping us, put up some big money tomorrow night at the Bull Ring for the modifieds. So. 20 cars were checked in last week. We're looking for at least that, maybe double. Of course, I'd love to see way more in the pit area for the modifieds. It was an absolutely fantastic show, and you don't want to miss it tomorrow night over at Humboldt Speedway. Of course, Saturday night, Green Flag Fury weekend for both of Green Flag Frenzy weekend, excuse me, for both of the racetracks. That is kind of the theme as we go through the weekend of races. Of course, Saturday night right here at 81 Speedway, all five classes are going to be in contention. Your USRA modified, your B mods, super stocks, stock cars, mini stocks, and tuners. Everything back in action. Unfortunately, last weekend weather won on us. We tried to get it in, and we waited till the very last minute. But once it started raining, we noticed it was going to go for a while. So we do apologize for that. We want everyone to make sure that you have seen the rain out policy. So we do not do refunds at either one of this. Goes for both Humboldt Speedway and 81 Speedway. We do not do refunds at the track. You have paid for your pit pass. You've paid for your grandstand ticket. It is still good as long as you have it in your possession when you come to the track. So Saturday night, you have your pit pass in hand from last weekend. You're going to get right back into the pits and get going. So you've already paid for that. That is how the rain out policy works. It is also posted on the Facebook page. It is pinned to the top of the page. So if you go to Humboldt Speedway or 81 Speedway, pinned post at the top of the pages is all of the rain out policies for both. And of course, it's a FOE Enterprises policy, so it goes across both of the speedways. But make sure you bring your ticket and make sure you bring your pit pass. There's been some questions on the grandstand tickets because they do not have a date on them. They are all serialized. We have the serialized numbers. That's all inputted in the system. We know what ticket is what. We know what event you went to. So all that good to go. Make sure you have that when you show up to the races here on Saturday for Green Flag Frenzy. I'm probably going to screw that up a few more times. I do apologize. But Green Flag Frenzy tomorrow night over at Humboldt Speedway. 5 classes in action. Saturday night, Green Flag Frenzy again. 5 classes in action. So a lot of stuff fixing to happen at both of the speedways here as we kick it off tomorrow night. And of course, again, just tuning into the show as I see the viewership grow here on the count. I want to remind you, if you haven't seen it, $1,000 to win for the modifieds, USRA modifieds over at Humboldt Speedway. Those are, of course, USRA points. No track points for any of that. We're not doing a weekly championship thing for the modifieds, but those are USRA points. They do count towards the end of the year USRA national points hunt. But without any further ado, we're going to bring on Mickey Burrell. He's been out kind of on a shitty job, if you would, today. Because unfortunately, like the rest of us, he's not a full-time race car driver. He does have a job that he's got to go to Monday through Friday, and then he tries to sneak out early on the boss and get to the races. But how are you doing today, buddy?
Oh, doing pretty good. Doing good.
Where
Yeah,
are
we
you?
got a.
Where are you at?
Right now I'm actually I just left the job and got over here to the race shop. I guess we keep the car at Elston's house,
Okay.
and I mean anybody that's known us for very long knows that Elston and I do it together. So he's a huge part of it, and So that makes it a lot easier on me for sure.
Well, before we get into some other stuff, going back to last Friday night, 20 cars in the pit area for as the modifieds kind of make their return on a limited weekly basis over at Humboldt Speedway, but 20 good modifieds, including yourself in the field, and
No.
the everything lined up, and you absolutely put it to them.
Yeah, it worked out pretty good. We've raced several times down there over the years. Uh, I raced back there. We called them B mods then. I think you guys might have called them econo mods years ago, and we had to weigh a little more than normal. And so, I mean, I've been racing there several years, and that's the first time we've ever managed to win one down there.
Yeah, I think maybe the what you're referring to as the Econo mods kind of morphed into the Midwest mod series, little bit different, weigh a little bit more, not quite as much motor stuff like that.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I'm gonna guess that probably would have been like 2010, maybe.
Yeah, so that was before the FOE's time over there. Of course, we took over at the Speedway in 22. So
Okay, yeah, that's been a few years ago.
but kind of going back to the very beginning of it, how do you get into this racing world? How does the Burrell family get started?
Well, my would have been my grandpa on my mom's side years ago when I was little. He raced. He had stopped racing. But before I was even 16, he had stopped racing. But I remember going and seeing some of it when I was younger. He lived down around the Joplin, Carthage area, so he went to like Joplin some, and he went to Nevada, somewhere place. I think there was Norfolk back then, if I remember right.
Okay.
And so I've just always kind of liked them. And then out of high school, I ended up with a job at D&D Welding, and I don't know if you know any of the Dukes, but they raced back then, and I always just kind of wanted to race, so I ended up getting a mini stock off a guy, and that's how we got started. A mini stock back. Let's see, I think the first year I ran it, I was 21, so that's been 21 years ago.
Yeah, so our good friend of the show, Tim Belk, has a pretty good pages on Facebook, and he shares some old photos, and Norfolk Speedway has been popping up quite a bit. So if you're unfamiliar with Tim Belk, he is kind of a historian of racing. Really, his dad was kind of a legendary racer, and he runs a sports memorabilia store, but people
Hmm.
give him collections of old racing photos and things. So as he goes through them in his collection, he gets them posted on the Facebook page. But Norfolk Speedway has been a pretty big topic on one of the pages over the last probably 2 weeks or so. So that I don't know that track offhand. But I do see some of the photos that are getting posted on the Facebook page for Tim Belk.
Yeah, I don't really know it either. I've just heard about it. I mean, I was never there or anything that I know of. Maybe when I was little and didn't remember it.
Now,
But
when you get the mini stock, of course, our mini stock and tuners that we run at both the speedways, a little bit different as time has evolved. But, what kind of car was it? Was it you're driving Pintos back then, or what was that?
it was a little Mustang.
Okay.
It was a little orange Mustang. It was same number 73, and didn't really know a whole lot about it. If it wouldn't have been for the Duke family there where I worked and then with them and friends of them, I would have been kind of in left field probably. But they really helped a lot in getting me going on that stuff. And I didn't know much about it. I bought a camshaft for it one time. I'm not real motor oriented. I'm better now than I used to be, and I couldn't figure out why the camshaft wouldn't work. And I'd bought it for the wrong lifters and all kinds of stuff. So I'm like, well, maybe that was a learning experience for me.
And so how long do you run the mini stock?
Um, so that year was kind of hit and miss because I had some other stuff going on at the time, and so we raced it that year. And I can't remember if I raced it 2 more years or just 1 more year, and then we ended up getting a B mod. they were just kind of getting going around here back then. They weren't sanctioned or anything.
And what's considered your home track?
Um, so I mean, compared to where we live, Springfield's the closest.
Okay.
We used to race there quite a bit because it's like 25 minutes from where we keep the race car.
Okay.
So it's really hard to go a whole lot of other places. I mean, back when I ran the B mod stuff, we raced a lot at Nevada, or not Nevada, I'm sorry, Midway at Lebanon, and then at Urbana quite a bit.
Okay.
That's where we raced most of the time.
So you race the mini stock for a couple of years. You get into the B mods. How much time are you spending in the B mod? How many years did you race it?
I mean, I'm trying to think. Let's see, I think I switched in either probably maybe 2010 or 2011, and that would have been probably, I'd say probably 3 or 4 years,
Okay.
somewhere in there.
Of course,
We
B mod
raced it
racing
quite a
back
bit.
then is not what it is now. Of course, you don't have Tyler Kidwell, John Sheets, and a lot of the standout stars that we see in the B mods weren't back tearing it up in them days, but still some pretty good racers. As the B mod was kind of a more geared towards the entry level, a little bit cheaper to the modified.
Yeah, back when we started, there was a couple guys that had raced modified years before, and one guy in particular, he raced the same car he raced as it's a regular modified several years before. He raced it as a B mod because the A mods had evolved so much at that point. And I don't know that the I don't know the difference in a lot of the rules for the B mods now and the B mods then. At the time, they weren't super popular. I mean, they were popular, but not like now.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't go anywhere and race the same B mod. It was there was econo mods some places. Some places called them 360 mods. Others they were sport mods, B mods.
Yeah,
So
that sounds familiar to what's happening kind of with the Midwest mod. So, the Midwest mods that we run at Humboldt Speedway, they have a few tracks. I want to say maybe a handful of them that they can run the same rules at each track, and then you get into the Power I sanctioning for the mods, and Power I will a little bit different rules. I think they'd let them run a spoiler and maybe have some shock stuff and of course, we incorporate some of those rules over at Humboldt. You can't run the spoiler, so you have to take the blade off. But kind of sounds like the same when you start in the B mods. It's kind of the same way as what's happening with the Midwest mod series right now.
yeah, it was a lot like that. I know even some Midwest mod guys I know that race up here. I think the track in Lebanon lets you do a few more things different than the track in Springfield. So it's kind of back and forth. A lot of it I think you can change. There's a few things that I don't think you can necessarily change to run the other place. One of them I think allows a different motor package, like an LS package, like a
Hmm.
5.3 or something newer.
Okay. Well, so back to your racing. Of course, you do the mini stock thing for a couple years, and then get into the B mod. And did you have success kind of right out of the gate with the mini stock, or maybe not so much, but when you got in the B mod, you felt it. How did the
N-
situation go for you?
Now the mini stock, I think we won one race. There was a couple guys that had ran them forever around here and that were pretty good, and I never really had much for them. The one race I won, the guy that won about every night broke. So, but we won one, and then we got the B mod, and I think the first B mod race we won was actually at Bolivar. Um, that year, I think we were actually won maybe 3 races at Bolivar, and then that was the first year I guess we ran a B mod, and when they changed the rules and we got some other stuff done, and we had some pretty decent success in the B mod. I won the points at Midway one year, and we won a decent amount of races, so it was a pretty good time.
And then you do that for a handful of years, and then you decide to get into the modifieds. What was kind of the kick to make the step up?
Well, at the time, the car I had for a B mod, it was an older DW8, and it was getting pretty wore. you could put a whole bunch of rounds in one corner and not necessarily always know you did anything. And at the time, we were running for 250 to win in a B mod, and I think I one track paid 250 to run fifth in the A mod, I think. And we had spent at that time we had spent like $7,500 on a B mod motor, which compared to what they're spending now, it's not that much. But at the time, it was a lot. And the first A mod motor I bought was like 10.5 from carburetor to pan. So my theory was I needed a different car anyways, and we could run for more money if we switched. So that's what we ended up doing.
And of course, about 2010, Dirt Works goes away. So what chassis did you get with when you went into the modifieds?
So in the beginning, I didn't really know what I was going to do, and I ended up getting a TRE.
Mm-hmm.
My dad and I left out the day after Thanksgiving morning, drove from I live at Fairgrove to Texarkana, picked it up, and then drove back. And at that time, I don't know how familiar you are, but a lot of people are familiar with the Bones,
Mm-hmm.
with Tony and Junior, and they were doing the TRE by Bone stuff then. So I ended up getting a hold of Tony and got hooked up with him, and he helped us a lot with that. And then we ran that car for I think for a year, and then sold it, and then got one of their cars. And I mean, I owe the Bone family, Tony. He's gone now, and of course I miss him. A lot of times we talk or see each other a lot. I made some parts for him at one time, and we'd go down there and we'd go eat or whatever. And it's sad that we lost him, but him and Junior, I mean, I owe both of them a lot. They were a lot of help in the modified stuff and just kind of helping me get going and learning things. I didn't know much about it at the time. When we first started out, the first actual modified race we ran was a USMTS race at Humboldt,
Okay.
and I didn't exactly. I was younger then. I was probably whatever I was, but I was still living at home. My dad helped me, and mom and we all went, and I didn't exactly fill them in on what was going on before we showed up. I kind of mentioned it, and then my mom still talks about it sometimes. We got down there, and they're like, "Did you know they were going to be here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, there wasn't anybody else racing. We got to start somewhere." So the first handful of races we ran back then was USMTS races, and we always went and parked by Bones, and I think we ran down there, and I can't remember if that year we went to Coffeyville or if Coffeyville rained out, and then we did like some other stuff here in Missouri, and it's kind of how it got started. And I think I got lucky that year and won a tire at the drivers' meeting at Lamont, so they kind of suckered me in hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah, it's there's always the debate, if there should be kind of an entry level class like a rookie division or something. And we hear both sides of it. Of course, we hear John Allen say, well, the first time I got in a modified, I got thrown to the wolves, with the best of the best, and kind of the same situation that you were in when you went over to Humboldt. It's a very tricky track with a lot of experienced fast racers, and you're gonna your learning curve is going to be quite a bit steeper, or quite a bit quicker, if you're out there with all the drivers. But we had a rookie division here at 81 Speedway for a while, and it just progressed and progressed, and we just felt like it was time to kind of let it go. And the last couple of years, this year, we're not going to, of course we don't have it. And I think that some of the drivers have just in a few races have got a little bit better, just being out there with some of the faster guys. So there's an argument to be had for jumping in, head first, or dipping your toe in the water.
Yeah, I see both sides. Even in say B mods around here, sometimes you'll see somebody get one and they've never been in a car at all, and there's some times it gets a little hairy with, especially you didn't if they get lapped or some lap cars. So hopefully I wasn't too much in the way when I got lapped early on, but I mean sometimes I still get lapped. What am I saying? But I try not to be in the way, but sometimes you don't really know where everybody's going to be.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice sometimes if somebody has a little bit of experience in a car, just so they know kind of the idea. But they always say you're only as good as the people you race with, I guess.
Yeah, you get. I mean, we've talked to a few people here on the show where, um, they barely took a go kart ride at the local amusement park. They jumped right into a full blown late model ride, and then you have some people like yourself. They kind of got into a mini stock or a stock car and went to a B mod and progressed through the ranks, and maybe they're driving a sprint car or a late model now, but it's a it's a whole, of course, in this racing deal there's just a whole cast of characters, and everyone takes a little bit different path, just kind of depending on their situation in life, really.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, for me, the mini stock was affordable in the beginning, and then, I mean, truth be known, I think I actually had a loan for the first B mod. I think I borrowed money against the truck or something, which anybody that's listening that's young, I wouldn't necessarily, promote that kind of thing. You do what you're going to do, I guess. I lived at home and all my money went to racing, so I'm paid for it. But
What's the old Larry the Cable Guy joke? Sometimes you got to wreck the truck to get the insurance money to pay the truck payment.
yeah, something like that,
That's definitely not promoted, but
Yeah, maybe you need a insurance to sponsor the show.
yeah, maybe I'll have to work on that one.
Work
So
on one of those big names.
so you're kind of 2010, 2011, you jump into the modified, and here we are in 26, still going, still trucking up and down the road. Kind of what's the last 10, 16 years look like?
We raced pretty hard in the beginning, and then there was a stretch in the middle. We just kind of raced mostly local stuff. And then there was a time when we drove to Baytown, Texas, is the furthest south I've been, and we went to Deer Creek, Minnesota one year for the Jamboree.
Okay.
That was several years ago. And then, things kind of progressed, and we started a business, and there was one year in there that we didn't race at all. Just trying to get the business going. It was just really busy, and that one year we didn't race at all. I mean, it doesn't take long to get behind.
Yeah.
Especially, I talked to a lot of people. I'm like, man, back, we used to race this, and then technology changes so much, and everything just is constantly evolving. And when you're out of it for a full year, and then you got, 2 off seasons, you're out of it, and next thing you know, you're like, wow, we're so far behind. And luckily, it was the time. Still had some people in it that could kind of help us get kind of caught back up, but we were behind. And then a few years ago, there was a little series. It was called All Star Series. The guy was out of Jonesboro. We ran some of those races. Went to Mississippi once, some Arkansas stuff. Always kind of like to go to new places, and travel around, which just kind of funny because I'm not a guy that likes to ride.
Yeah.
Like somebody will talk about wanting to go to a restaurant an hour away, and I'm like, I can eat right down the road. But yet we'll get in there and we'll pull to. Last year we went all the way to Hutchinson from
Yeah.
Springfield, and that was a haul for sure. And I've only been to 81 once. That was last year. It's quite a ways from the house.
Yeah.
I mean, it's when you break that 3 hour mark, sometimes it's hard to get, as far as coming back home that night, or
Right.
just things going on makes it harder.
Well, if you still have some couple Heartland shows to run here at 81, and some USMTS stuff at the end of the year. So we got a couple casinos and hotels just across the street from the racetrack. So if you don't want to drive back, there's definitely places you can store the hauler and hit the slots and the tables, and then get you a night at rest before you go back.
I don't know which I'd lose more money at, the racetrack or the slots, but I'm not really a big gambler. I'm one of those guys that takes 20 and does the pennies just for entertainment, but
Yeah.
I never had much luck at it. And you brought up the Heartland Series. We kind of watched it that first year. We didn't run any of them. I think we maybe went to one. And then last year we started out running them, ran them for a while, and we were just struggling so bad, got frustrated, and just kind of quit running them. And then we hit Labor Day there. We ran one at Lake Ozark, and we weren't any good, and we were just kind of done with it. And I had work had piled up, so at that point I was frustrated enough with racing. I thought I'd just work.
Yeah.
So we did that. We we'd been with some. We were with Bones and the TRE stuff, and then they ended up doing some Shaw stuff, so we got to doing Shaws,
Mhm.
and we had pretty good luck out of one, and then we got another one, a new one here in, I don't remember if it was 23. I don't remember what year it was, and we didn't really race it that first year. We got it at the end of the year, and we just never could really figure it out. We tried a few different things, and we struggled a lot the last couple of years, and um, we could get it to go sometimes at Monette. We got to run in there a lot
Mhm.
last couple of years. It was close, pretty close, and but then this winter we ended up getting this Mullins car, and we ended up selling those Shaws. And so far we're having a lot better luck out of this Mullins car. Tanner's been a lot of help, and he helps us if we need something. And it seems to be turning us around. I was kind of thinking maybe I was washed up and couldn't drive a stick horse to water, but I don't know if I just was a blind squirrel finding the net the other night, or we'll see, I guess.
Well, you know, from the announcer's tower, I mean, you had it locked. You hit your marks every turn. They didn't. Them guys were not letting you have it. They were hot on your trail, and you just, the that is such a. I try to tell people about that track over there. It's very unique. It is two different
It is.
straightaways. It's four very different corners. The surface is unlike anything. That special dirt that the Whitworths brought in a long time ago. It is tough to get around, but once it's kind of like what people talk about at Lucas Oil. It's tough to get one at Lucas Oil, but once you pop one off, they just keep coming and coming. And Humboldt seems to be the same way. We have that same type of thing with the drivers. Once they visit Victory Lane at Humboldt, they just you got it figured out. They just keep coming.
Well, I hope that's true. Yeah, talk about Lucas. I've never figured that place out. We actually did win a points championship there several years ago. Never won a race that year. I think I ran second and third some. And that place, we went there Saturday night, and we were like a duck out of water come feature time. So definitely got to work on something there. I don't know. Need to eat more chicken or something.
Well, you have to you
They
have to
say
talk
not to eat
you
chicken,
have to
but
talk
maybe
to
I
your
should try it.
your car builder because he's pretty good around Lucas. So
Yeah, he is. I was on the phone with him trying to see what I need to do different, and what he told me was opposite of what I did. So apparently, I was in the parking lot instead of left field.
yeah. You kind of mentioned work and the business and just what do you do for to make the racing thing happen?
As far as work, we have a small, I should call it, excavation company, a couple dump trucks. We put in septic systems here in kind of the Springfield area, I guess you could say, and then haul some rock, do some dirt work, do some stuff for some builders, stuff like that. That's our main thing. I'm trying to get into doing more and more of the septic installs, and so that's what we do mostly. And then, we wouldn't be able to race if it wasn't for everybody that helps us
Mm-hmm.
out. And like so we got a Mullins car. BMS builds the motors. We've been with Bob's for probably since the second year I was modified racing. I broke a motor and ended up getting one. Tony called down there and got me hooked up with Bob, and we've been getting motors down there forever. Seems like a long time. And then we got Dorothy and Tex Motorsports. That's a real good friend of ours, and she's helped me out for a lot of years, kept me going and things, and all the other sponsors. Nixon Monument Company, Daryl, he's down there in Nixon, Missouri. He's been he came on board here. I'm terrible with time. It's been several years, and he used to travel around with us some when we did some of the All Star stuff, went with us to Mississippi and stuff. He's had to have some back surgeries and some stuff, so he's been kind of sidelined, hadn't been able to go, and kind of miss him going. He still helps us out, and then I'm sure I'll mess around and forget somebody, but D&E Enterprises on the car. That's kind of Donna and Elston. Elston's the guy that race with all the time, and
Mm-hmm.
couldn't do it without Elston. He's great help. He does so much, and so the car's at his shop. I mean, we just do it together. It's not necessarily me, it's not just me, it's a lot him. So got to give him tons of credit. And a lot of times if I'm slammed working, he's doing stuff, and that makes a big difference. And I've had Bud's tire and wheel on the car for quite a while. Bud Perry, he's passed now. Knew him for years, and his son Mike and his family runs it now, and they're great people here. They're from the local area. Chris over at Midwest Sheet Metals helped us out over the years a lot with different materials and stuff we've needed. We got Villar's Automotive. He came back on this year. He helped us a couple years ago, and he's back with some oil and some filter stuff. I'm trying to think. Bryke down at they're in Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
They Bryke Racing. They got two places now, I believe. One's in Fort Smith, and one's in I think it's Lincoln. I hope I didn't say wrong, but they do a lot of online order stuff, and then they have those stores. And Brian's been great down there, dealing with working with him. And there's the ME Skid Steer, that's our company. R&R Graphics has done the wraps for several years on the cars. I got my wife. She's probably supportive about it. I think sometimes she enjoys it when I go racing for a weekend because she gets the house to herself. I'm kind of a picky eater, so I don't like to eat all the stuff she likes to eat. So if I'm not home, then she gets to eat whatever she wants to eat. So
yeah,
that makes her happier. And then, of course, I mentioned my mom and dad. My dad's passed now. My mom's still around. She's a huge supporter. She goes with us some, and when she can, and they've always been a great help, supported me my whole life and everything I've done. So that's made a huge difference.
Well, I'll have to say that you did a lot better than some people do with the sponsors, naming them all, and of course, if anyone was listening, it literally takes a whole entire village and an army to go racing these days. You need a lot, like like yourself, if you're working late or helping out with an emergency project, you got someone to lean on to make sure the car's ready to go, and then you got to get the work done if you're going to go racing on Friday night. And we hope we get to see you tomorrow over there. $1,000 to win put up this week. Some great, amazing sponsors. Love seeing the modifieds at Humboldt, so they came on board and put up some good prize money. So $1,000 to win tomorrow night over there. So hopefully you can make it.
That's the plan. I told the guy where I was working today that I wasn't going to work all day tomorrow, so I done prepared him, and that way he would be prepared. Last week with the weather, we weren't sure where we were going to go, and we, like, well, let's just go there. And as far as, I think somebody said you guys got an inch of rain at Humboldt, and the track was in really good shape. I thought for the inch of rain, and as wet as it's been, the guy always kind of worries a little.
We have an amazing crew at both Humboldt and 81 Speedway, and they worked on it. We still had some standing water in the grandstands, and of course then we typically have the scales in the middle, but it was just too wet down there. We couldn't quite get that work, so we moved you guys over to the tech barn. But they worked round the clock over there to try to get Friday night's deal in, and it was spectacular.
Yeah, that was good. Good.
Well, you've been doing this for 26 years. Unfortunately, you're not getting any younger.
About 21 years, I guess.
What's the what's kind of you're just gonna keep doing it as long as you're having fun, or is there a game plan?
I don't really have a game plan. I'm not a very good planner. I told my wife that we had planned on going back down there on Friday, and I told her that early in the week, and she goes, well, I'm just surprised you know where you're going. I'm like, I know, it's rare. So as far as any plans, I don't know. I'd say, we'll race as long as we're having fun, enjoying it, and able to afford it, I guess.
Right.
We're actually building the house this year. I say we're building it. We started. I got some foundation in and some stuff. So wasn't exactly sure how that's going to affect everything, but we're going to see what happens here and race as much as we can and go from there, I guess.
You kind of mentioned the Heartland series, and kind of just watched it from afar that first year, but the first year was a little tough for everyone. It was basically a USMTS show for the first couple months as weather affected the traveling series, but um, year three here with the Heartland series, Trenton Stick and of course Eric Chesterman and the whole entire crew for the Heartland promotions, and they've been doing a spectacular job. Everyone loves it. Kind of bringing some big money back to a Midwest traveling series, and I'm sure you remember the NCRA series that traveled around out of Wichita here and went around, but kind of
Yeah.
revitalizing that. What's your take on the Heartland series?
I like it. It's a great thing, I think. And they've done a good job with all of it. And I think you've actually, from my perspective, even the just weekly local A mods, I feel like there's more of them. It had gotten pretty sparse there, and places weren't running us as much. And then they did that the first year, and I feel like it kind of kick-started some people and gave some people, I'm not saying another reason to race, but maybe somewhere else to race, something else to do. There's been a couple other little mod series over the years that's I've never really. I don't know if they weren't as committed as Trenton and Stick and Eric, or I don't know their ins and outs of either one of them, but
Right.
there was a couple that they rode in last, and these guys seem to have got it figured out and making it work. And I mean, it's great to have a place to go race for some decent money, and we'll probably race. We've raced I guess we've only had the couple down there at the beginning of the year. We raced those, and then the other weekend got rained out. So I'm sure we're going to race some of them, see how it goes. If we can get things rolling good and run decent with them all the time, then we'll probably race with them more. Just sometimes life gets in the way.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah. And that series kind of centered around that, southwestern, southeastern Kansas, Missouri area. So, good tracks, good money, not that far from the house.
no, it's not super far. Like I said, I think either Hutchinson or Salina, Kansas were the two furthest last year. Um, I can't say that I'm heartbroken that it's not going back to Salina, Kansas, because that I'm not sure if that was further than Hutchinson or not, but I enjoyed Hutchinson more. I guess I don't know why. I think it's ginormous,
Yeah.
but I guess I could eat a cheeseburger going down the straightaway or something. But it, so there's not a lot to look at on the way out there.
Right.
It's a good thing that Helson drives us around most of the time. I tend to fall asleep over there in the passenger seat. So, but
Um,
I always enjoy them, and I'm sure we'll run. I'm sure we'll run the next ones for a while and kind of see how things go.
right. Um, you know, in your time, you've seen quite a few tracks. You talked about kind of traveling around in Mississippi and Arkansas and racing some of that stuff. But what is a track size you like to race at? Is there one that just kind of fits your driving style, or maybe just kind of you like to be at more than others?
I do better on the smaller stuff, like Humboldt. I like. We raced Urbana a lot. I don't know if you're familiar with Creek County,
Mm-hmm.
kind of by Tulsa and Sapulpa. We've had some success down there. I like the smaller stuff. I just seem to do better on it. Maybe it's because I've raced a lot more of it.
Okay.
The bigger stuff. I mean, Monet's bigger, and we did okay down there. We did pretty decent down there. I don't know. I kind of like the small stuff. You tear up more sheet metal or plastic nowadays, but when you wreck, you don't seem to junk as much framework.
Right. Yeah, just sheet
We
metal
uh,
stuff and
we were we junked one at Salina, Oklahoma here a few years ago. Went into one and the lower control arm bolt broke. We pirouetted it off the end and we took it and put it on the jig and it touched in 3 places and it was supposed to touch in 8.
oh.
So it was toast. But I've never had any success on anything half mile wise or nothing. I never really ran. I mean, we ran Sedalia some years ago. I've been to Thunderbird once. We've been to Lakeside a few times. Been to Hutchinson once. So just never really. maybe I haven't ran that big stuff enough to figure it out. But I'm more of a small track guy, I guess.
Yeah, there's just not a lot of, like, I mean, there's a handful of half miles, but there's more 3/8, quarter mile stuff kind of around, in a 3-4 hour radius of where you're at or where we're at here in Wichita.
Right. Yeah, we had some decent luck in flipping Arkansas or Yellville, what they call it, North Central Arkansas. We won like an all-star race and stuff down there, and it's a smaller deal. We do have more success on the smaller ones. I will venture to say that.
Um, don't want to keep you all night. You got stuff to do, and of course, you want to go racing with us tomorrow, and we appreciate that very much. But a couple more things before we get off of here. 73. Where did the 73 come from?
Well, I mentioned that my grandpa had race, and when we were talking about racing, I asked him one time. I said, "Well, what was your number?" He's like, "Well, I had several," and I said, "Well, which one, would you pick?" And it was a 73. So that's how we ended up with a 73. It was one of his numbers he had at one time. I think he'd been two or three different numbers, but I think the other numbers were stuff he had bought cars and just raced them the way they were lettered.
Gotcha. Um, Next thing is track conditions. You talked about Humboldt. It was pretty hammered down. The track was in good condition, but some people prefer it to slick off and kind of ice skating rink and really put some finesse into it. What's your type of surface?
Well, I used to always say I like the slick better, but I don't know if I don't really like it wide open, and especially if it gets Baja. I'm too fat and out of shape for that. So I told somebody we had a caution at Humboldt. I was huffing and puffing. I don't know if it was I wasn't breathing or if I was just working that hard in there, but I know I'm out of shape. Most round is a shape, but
That's right.
it I don't know. I'm kind of a middle of the road person anymore. I feel like I haven't in the last few years. I haven't really figured out the slick stuff anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just been, and it's weird. Years ago, I felt like the racetracks were slick a lot more than they are now. I feel like in the last few years, I even talked to some other people about it that just seems like things stay a little tackier. I don't know if it's just due to the weather conditions or I don't know what it is. But it was a little skatey getting into the three down there the other night, which that's usually when I've been in Humboldt. That end normally gets slicker, before.
Right.
I'm assuming that's because the sun beats on it as it goes down.
Well, so that's part of it. The other part of it is it's kind of it's the only kind of sweeping corner, so you don't gotta jam on the brakes. You can kind of just
Um,
really run it, and they kind of blow that corner off more than any of the rest of them.
yeah, that makes sense. You do get off in there because you don't get into one near as hard because it's a lot tighter coming off of four, but you can get through two and down the backstretch a lot faster into three.
Yeah, it's a
So that does make sense.
tried to tell everyone, the all my life, that Humboldt is very tricky, and the people that have it figured out, they got its number for sure, and they put a hurting on the rest of the field when they show up. So,
Well, hopefully we'll have some more success tomorrow night and see what we can do.
well, there you go, man. I really appreciate you. I got your number. Chesterman, reached out to Chesterman and got your number. I wanted to say something to you last Friday night, but by the time I got done with Victory Lane and got all my stuff packed up, you guys were already on the road back home, so I didn't get a chance to come down and see you at the trailer and talk to you about this. So I appreciate you messaging me back so quick and agreeing to come on the show. It was a Ryan Whitworth, of course, put out a post that he loved seeing you in Victory Lane. Kind of one of the last guys that he was racing with, still racing. And Trenton,
Yeah.
of course, made a post, and it was great to see you in Victory Lane. And so last Friday's win was one for the kind of the old guard of the racing community, to get it
Yeah.
done. And like I said, watching it from the announcer's tower, man, you hit every mark. You were on it, and they gave you some challenges, but they had nothing for you. It was good to watch.
Yeah, I made a mistake on one of them restarts, and they got clear up beside me, and I'm like, I gotta go. So I thought, I don't need this.
Yeah, they were itching to try to get by you, but you had their number last Friday night, and of course $1,000 on the line tomorrow night, and we want you to get to bed, get some rest, get up early, get that work done, and of course we'll see you in the pits tomorrow night.
All right, sounds good. I appreciate you having us on.
Thank you very much, sir, and of course we'll see you tomorrow at Humboldt.
All right.
Have a great night.
Thanks, you too.
So Mickey Burrell on the phone line there. Great conversation with him. Of course, last Friday night for your Jared Gilmore and Phillips Sig Tire and Auto Rick BB Heating and Air Modified A feature picking up the win. $1,000 on the line tomorrow night over at Humboldt Speedway. Need to thank Freight Logistics for coming on board and helping out. We have a couple other sponsors, and we'll get those posted up on the Facebook page, and I don't have them in front of me, and I do apologize for that. So a lot of sponsors coming on board to try to help out the modifieds over at Humboldt, and we appreciate everyone's support, and of course quite a few fans in the stands and as the pits as well. So tomorrow night going to be a good one. Of course, your Sig Tire and Auto, Rick BB Heating and Air, Jared Gilmore and Phillips Modifieds going to run Ray's Metal Depot USRA B Mod, your Home Savings Bank Pure Stocks, your Extrusion Zinc Midwest Mod, the Mod Mania series back in action, and your Bull Ring Bar mini stock and tuners are set and ready to jet tomorrow. 5 classes again over at Humboldt Speedway. We hope to see you there. Same start time, 6 o'clock. The gate's going to open 8 o'clock as we're going to get racing. 5:30. Pit gates will, 5 pit gates will open. I might be screwing up so many times I don't have it in front of me. The internet's not quite working here tonight very good, so just trying to get the broadcast or the podcast done here tonight. So check the Facebook page. I'll get all that posted. Of course, HumboldtSpeedway.com, 81Speedway.com can get you all those times. We are going to start racing, as we always do on Friday night over at Humboldt Speedway at 8 o'clock. We hope to see you in the grandstands with us, and of course, Saturday night here at 81 Speedway, 5 o'clock. Grandstand is going to open. We got happy hour going on at Tyrod Tavern as well as Jack's Place concession stand. So get over there and enjoy that. 7 o'clock, we'll get racing with all 5 of your divisions: Alternative Pest Management USRA Modifieds, your Poorman Auto Supply USRA B Mods, your TM Fencing LLC Super Stocks, your Treasure Hunt Estate Sales Mini Stock and Tuners, and of course, Allied Battery Stock Cars are all back in action. It's going to be one heck of a weekend for Green Flag Frenzy weekend for Humboldt Speedway and 81 Speedway. That is going to do it for me here tonight. I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in on Thursdays here to Above the Cushion. Don't forget to visit the YouTube page for Above the Cushion and also Dirt Track Diaries. Follow along with JR as he gets the facility ready out throughout the week, and of course Saturday, Sunday, Monday through Friday. He's always doing something and getting it posted over on Dirt Track Diaries. Still posting stuff on Above the Cushion as well. A YouTube page, and if you're interested in doing a pit stop interview with me, message me, get a hold of me, flag me down at the racetrack. Let's get that done. Let's get it posted up so your race fans know all the ins and outs. We do have some new questions for the 26th season as well. So again, if you're interested in doing one of those, flag me down, message me, call me if you have my number, and let's get that scheduled. Let's get that going, and let's get it posted so your race fans can get all the ins and outs of you and your racing career. Again, that is going to do it for me here tonight. Good night. God bless. We'll see you at the races.